It's time we go beyond the handshake. It's time we deepen business relationships and take it to the next level of cultivating and building relationships past that business card exchange and beyond the initial handshake. Welcome to Beyond the Handshake, where we will take a deep dive into getting to know businesses and business owners, why they do what they do in business, what drives them to success, why they work so hard, what they struggle with, what they succeed in, and tips they have for other businesses to learn from their experiences. I am Lucy Miller, founder and CEO of Women Connect. Let's go beyond the handshake. Today's episode of Beyond the Handshake is with Anna-Vija McCloud. Anna-Vija is an expert in small business efficiency and growth. She is the founder and CEO of Piccolo Solutions, a development firm that provides businesses with numerous ways to scale, from lead generation to workflow solutions. They just also celebrated their 10th year in business. Today's episode is so great. We talk all about email marketing, social media tips, and why batching your content is so important. Let's get started. I am thrilled to have Anna-Vija McCloud now.
Yes.
McCloud, I got the name right.
4 whole months of being a McCloud.
So exciting. I am thrilled to have you on the Beyond the Handshake podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like we're trading interviews.
Yes.
I feel like I interview you, you interview me. Yeah.
Fun.
We're going to keep it going.
Turn the tables on you.
Yeah.
So I want to read your bio because I want to know all about you. But Anna-Vija McCloud is an expert in small business efficiency and growth. She's the founder and CEO of Piccolo Solutions, a development firm that provides businesses with numerous ways to scale, from lead generation to workflow solutions, that just celebrated its 10th year in business.
Yes, we did. And we did the wedding reception. Yes. And the 10-year anniversary party for the company. Right? It was efficiency, man. And it was a tax write-off.
That's amazing. Good for you. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Years. It was great.
So I have gotten to know you through various different networking groups we're a part of, and you're a speaker at our conference, and we've become friends, I feel like. But I want to hear from you the backstory of how you started your agency. So what prompted you to start it? Why? What that journey has been like. 10 years is a long time to be in business.
It is. It is.
Tell me about it.
It's a big mile marker. Yeah. So I am one of those accidental entrepreneurs.
Ooh, yes, I know.
You know about that. Let's all get together and just meet up. Oops, I started a business. I know that story. But mine was, I started in restaurants when I was 16, and just wanted to earn a little bit of extra money and get a car and a cell phone and pizza. And then it really became,
really businesswoman.
Yeah, well, career in hospitality. Yeah. So then I started in private country clubs. And by the time I was about 28, 29, I realized that it was not the right career path for me. And so I was clinically depressed. I was having regular panic attacks. I had chronic anxiety. And I was kind of at the top of that career ladder in that industry. And so at the age of 28, I'm going, am I going to do this same job until I'm retiring at 65? Of course not. And so I knew that I needed to leave, that environment. It was just toxic for me. And then I struggled for about 8 or 9 months to find what the next step was. During that time, though, I did a lot of freelance marketing because I had background in that and experience in my former career. And then it became almost like a trend that I couldn't ignore. It was like, why are all these small business owners asking me for marketing help? Why don't you have a solution, right?
And what year was
freelancer? This is 2014.
Okay.
So this was before Fiverr and Canva and, every 22-year-old with a laptop is in marketing now, right? That wasn't available at the time. And so I realized that I could not only provide the strategy based on my corporate experience, right, as a sales and marketing director, but also the execution because I worked for a nonprofit. So I had to do that work myself.
So you'd seen both sides.
Right. And so a lot of small business owners needed that. that. And so within, I sort of sent out an email via free MailChimp. I opened up a free MailChimp account, sent an email to about 350 people that I had contact information for and said, hey, I'm doing marketing now. And if you know of anybody who needs help, please give them my info. And within 6 months, I had 17 retainer clients.
Wow.
And I was like, this is the job. And so I often joke the whole time, that whole first 6 months, I was still applying for jobs.
Right.
I still thought I was freelancing until I got a job. And then I made a job. And so once I leaned in and said, you know what, this is going to be the thing I need to put my effort towards, it quickly grew. And so, 10 years later, now it's just, this is my job.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how has that evolved though? So you started as a party of one and you have a whole team now. So
we do. Yeah.
What does that look like? How has your role evolved with what you do day to day?
So the first couple of years were definitely trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just me and I was like so penny pinch. I mean, again, I was on unemployment. By the time I was like, hey, I'm going to make this a thing, I had lost enough savings, was not getting a real job. I was on unemployment. And so I was very, very tight. So I would only, about 6 months in, I called a friend of mine that I worked with and said, hey, would you like some part-time online work, And she said, yeah, that would be great. And so everything I gave to people was very measured. Mm-hmm. I only need you to do this and then hand it back to me because I can only afford to pay you for 2 hours of work, right?
You get started,
Yeah. And so for the first couple of years, I tested interns. I had a lot of part-time contractors. Really, it was how can I sub out just the things that I need help with and get it back and manage as much as possible myself. And then as I grew in my client base, of course, the workload grows. And then I had to start to identify the things that I least wanted to do, the things that I was least qualified to do, right? So it's like, I'm not the best bookkeeper there ever was.
To ask, what are those things? Because you are so good at so many things, but we all have a skill set.
Thank you. Yeah.
Be focusing.
But I think that's it, right? Is that I was able to, and this is an exercise that I recommend a lot to people who are scaling their business. I started to keep a notepad, just a blank notepad on my desk. And throughout the day, if I ever had that feeling of, I don't want to do this, right? Or, this isn't my favorite thing, or I'm not good at this, I would just write it down on the notepad. And then after a week or two, it's like, well, there's your job description. Right? That's the help you're looking for. And so, I started by hiring for the things that I wasn't great at or didn't love. Creative came in pretty quickly just because the sheer quantity of it. Between social posts, email, blog writing, website development. I mean, 17 clients for one person to manage all of that is impossible. And so creative came in pretty quickly. But then over time, it was just, we grew our client base. Okay, well, now we have to hire another person. Well, now we have more bandwidth on the team. We got to backfill that availability, right? And so over the years, we've just pivoted as the market has, especially in the last few years, as people's needs for marketing have changed since the pandemic. So, you just kind of adjust as you go.
So what are you seeing people are asking and needing more on the marketing front from you? Or is it kind of
guidance? Okay. So prior to the pandemic, we just sold 12-month retainers right out of the gate. It was like, nice to meet you. You need marketing. Sign us up.
What were you doing for them then? You were doing it all.
Yeah. Website development and management, SEO, social, email, digital ads, photo, video, blog writing, LinkedIn building. I mean, all of the core foundational digital marketing services. But then the pandemic happened and a lot of people had to pull back, right? And so we actually did pretty well. We retained the majority of our clients, but we weren't signing a lot of new ones. And then as people were reticent to sign larger agreements after the pandemic, coupled with the threat of recession, then all of a sudden they were like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to sign your 12-month agreement right away. And so we had to pivot and say, what is it that you need right now? And we started asking our clients, our prospects, just the market. I mean, people I network with. I've got a big, healthy network of professionals. And everyone said, we were actually maybe more comfortable doing some of it ourselves because we had to bootstrap for the last 2 years. But we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we should be saying. We don't know which platforms to be on and how often. And so that's where we pivoted and created what we call the marketing launchpad.
Okay.
But we used to do the first 4 to 6 weeks of a retainer was assessment, strategy, deep dive, right? Creating the plan and then starting the execution. So we just chunked that off. and said, well, now you can just get that all by itself. And now when we make a recommendation for a retainer, if we make a recommendation, some clients were like, actually, you don't need us.
Yes.
Yeah, you already have an in-house team, or you need to hire somebody else at a higher or lower level. So when we make that recommendation, we know that it's a really educated recommendation, and clients feel a lot more comfortable signing what we now start as 6-month retainers.
Okay.
So that gives them a little bit more flexibility and comfort level to say, okay, now I see what you're going to be doing, or you've given me some instruction on what to do, and let's move forward. But that's a lot more just palatable for business owners right now.
Well, they've already seen the value at that point from you. So they're much more likely to pull the trigger.
Yeah. We call it dating before we get married.
Yes, that's perfect. Well, I mean, as a business owner myself and someone who uses social media a lot, and we're using, email marketing and press and PR, like there are so many different ways you can go, and it can easily feel overwhelming. And so I feel like the guidance piece can be just so powerful. And if nothing else, give somebody a direction and let them run with it for a while.
Yeah.
And like you said, jump in and help.
And about 60% of the people that do a launch pad become retainer clients. Okay. So, the majority of the 40% that delta there are clients that we go, hey, you really don't need us. You need a PR person. You need an event planner. You need to hire a full-time in-house marketing director because you have so much that you shouldn't be paying a part-time agency. Like, you need someone in-house to manage this level. So it allows us to really get that insight, right? So like, I feel better giving someone a retainer recommendation now because it's like, no, we know exactly what's going on with your business.
Well, that's an amazing pivot. I've talked about this a lot, that there have been times in my business where if I find that something's not working, I'm not afraid to change it. And I think that's so important. And that's what you did there, is pivot your approach to it.
Yep.
It still left you with probably almost the same result.
Oh, I mean, better. Yeah. I mean, we're able to, once we have a launch pad with a client, again, 60% of them convert, but also we're able to launch a client in half the amount of time that we used to. Yeah. Because instead of trying to go through strategy while the client is asking us for content, if you sign up for a retainer, you're expecting that content to start as soon as possible.
Ready. You're ready. Like, I needed it last week. Let's go.
And a lot of freelancers in marketing, SMMs, social media managers have that issue where they sign up with a client and the expectation is immediate content creation, right? And it's like, oh no, that we have to get to know you first.
Right.
So when we set the expectation with the client, no, we need 4 to 6 weeks to do that work. But then once we've done it and you hit the go button, we can go, right? So it's really changed, I think, the expectations and the value that the clients find, which is ironic because we're not actually doing anything differently except presenting. Right. It's the presentation of the process. And they go, oh, we understand that better. And so even that, right? It's like, we're doing the same work we've always done. We're just doing it in a more palatable way.
Well, so who is your ideal client?
Yeah. So we actually work, I say we're industry agnostic. But one of the wonderful things about this process is that we really work with any business owner. So we have had people who I've got an idea for a business or a new product line that I want to launch. Great, we can do that. I'm a nonprofit. Great, we would be happy to help and tell you exactly what to do in-house, even if you can't afford to hire an agency, right? The majority of our business, though, comes from small to mid-sized businesses that are probably in the $500,000 to $750,000 up, right? Because they have enough money that they're like, okay, I now have the time to dedicate to marketing and the funding to make sure that we're getting, something for it. But yeah, the industry agnostic leaves us with a lot of room for creativity. So we don't get bored. We're not like, well, we just serve this one kind of business. And so the team is always getting to flex that creative muscle.
What has been, I don't know if you're able to say, do you have a favorite project that you've worked on, or I guess you wouldn't call it project, but a campaign or a client you've helped that's been like super fun or interesting for you?
Yeah, we actually just are finishing this one up with The Branch here in Nashville. It's a nonprofit that offers a food bank, English second language services, and then comprehensive care. And they came to us last year with we know we need marketing help, but we're not sure. So we started with that launch pad and we gave them a lot of ideas, but this is very funny. We said, you are a nonprofit. You should not work with us because it's cost prohibitive for you, right? Here are the things you need to do. Your in-house team can do the majority of them. We're happy to introduce to freelancers or something like that when you get there. And they came back and said, no, we don't care about your recommendation. We want you to do the work. And we went, oh, okay. And
they were ready and they had the budget for it. So
they did not. They went and got the funding.
Got the budget.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, that's
so they asked and they said, hey, how much would it be for you to do this? And we gave them the quote and they said, give us a little bit. And within about a month, they came back and said, we got a private donation for this. And so we just finished their entire rebrand. We helped them with their messaging and sort of the look and the feel. Okay. And one of the big challenges, was just they have so much value, but they were having trouble articulating that in a clear, concise way to attract donors and volunteers. And so we were able to come in from the external perspective and say, oh no, we see what you're trying to do. Here's how you can translate that to people outside of your organization. And so now when you go to their website, it reflects the caliber of quality and service that they're bringing to the community, which should then attract the right donors and the right volunteers, people who want to be involved.
That could apply to a lot of nonprofits. That being able, any business really, being able to show in a clear and concise way what you offer and your value.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. I mean, we laugh. I've told this story before, but we've done work with ServPro, the disaster restoration franchise, for a decade. They were one of my first clients, and we love working with them. And we're very ingrained in that brand and in that business here locally because of that relationship. But one of the first meetings that I had with the client, I said, what are some words that your audience is using to search online that you would hope to find you, right? And he said, commercial large loss water mitigation or something like that. And I was like, no, they're not. No, they're not using those words.
They're using flood.
They're using, right? Like basement flood, water heater overflow. They're using different words. Now, again, commercial properties are probably using some language, but I'm like, that's the thing, is that the external perspective that we offer allows people to kind of step out of their business owner hat and say, oh, that's right. Like, I'm using industry language, acronyms and jargon, things that really the layman's customer or client is not going to use. And it's like, we can translate for you to say, no, we see what you're trying to communicate. Let's put it through the translator of marketing messaging and make it something that's approachable for your client.
Smart. So I was just about to ask you for some marketing hot tips.
Yes.
Already one of them.
That is one of them.
You're using words that are going to be searchable.
Yes.
For the layman.
Yeah.
So hot tips on marketing.
Yeah.
Let's talk social media. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So social media, my best tip with social media is batch your content.
Yes.
I know that
I thought of you the other day when I did that. So good.
Right? I'm glad that it is permeating the community. And that's one of the things, right? Is that, if you've got your full-time availability to do social and post every day and be creative every day and you love it, go for it. That's amazing. But most of the time, if you're already running a business,
doing
right?
Business.
You are full-time in that. And then if you're a wife, if you're a mom, if you're a woman, mostly you've got all these other things going on too. And so it's like, you've already got two full-time things, right? You've got home and you've got work. When are you going to be a full-time social media manager? And so, for
grannies, right?
Right. And so, for us, it's really about making that plan and saying, here are the most frequently asked questions. Here are creative reels that I want to make, gather some inspiration from Instagram, from TikTok, from LinkedIn, whatever your platform is. Get all those things in a spreadsheet and sit down for 1 or 2 hours, change your top, change your shirt 14 times, whatever it takes, right? But we'll shoot 1 or 2 videos in a top, and then I'll walk in the other room, I'll change the top, I'll come back and we'll shoot 1 or 2 videos. And then, we pick a place, either my house or a community workspace, right? Like the Entrepreneur Center here in Nashville. And we just pick different corners. And it's like, it's pretty much close up on you anyway.
And it's not like you'd be posting them necessarily like back-to-back days, or even if you did, it doesn't matter. It looks like it's a totally different scenario. Yeah,
just pick different corners. I mean, literally like move a fake plant, add a table or a prop. But all of those things allow you to be really focused. And then best part about that is that if you're able to batch that content, you then can use a scheduler or ask someone on your team to help polish up some of those content captions and schedule them out. And so people see me and I walk into networking events, I'm like, oh my gosh, I see you everywhere. I see you all the time. And I'm like, cool. Like, I am out and about, but I'm like, I'm also at home in my yoga pants. Like you see me posting all the time when really it's like we did that in a 2-hour session once or twice a month. Yeah.
Well, yesterday I needed to record a video and we had just come off the news. I was ready and I thought of you. I thought, I'm going to do this video, right?
Yes.
I am ready and we're going to go ahead and batch for future use. And I think the more that someone can take advantage of time where they're either already doing something that can be caught on film.
Yes.
Or the batch producing.
Yeah. And the day in the life, I mean, the most just hot tip across all of our clients at any given time, we have 30 or 40 retainer clients. So we have served literally hundreds of clients in 10 years. The best performing social media posts are behind the scenes footage and team spotlights or features.
Yeah.
Across all of our client base.
Oh, interesting.
Because people want to know you, right? They don't want to be sold to. They don't want to keep getting, and I mean, think about it for yourself. You know, you're waiting in line at the bank, you know, to pick up your kids. You're, you know, between meetings, you're on the toilet, you know, and you're scrolling. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it.
This is the clip of
no shame. This is the clip. This is going to be the clip that defines the whole podcast.
I didn't say it.
I say it a lot, right? But this is the reality we live in, is that people are not slowing down that scroll to read your sales posts most of the time. Right now, if there's a behind the scenes, they're a lot more interested in learning about you, right? Why do people do business? They do business with people they like,
absolutely.
Right? And so giving them that behind the scenes preview of you and your team and making it relatable is really where we see the highest engagement on posts.
Okay, so email marketing.
Yeah. Do it.
Do it.
Do it is the tip because most people are not doing it.
So I like to quick read things.
Yep.
I'm not going to read a long email that's, a lot of fluff, or am I the norm? Do people want like quicker, shorter, to the point, or do they want more of a fluff piece with information in? Or is there?
We have different clients that have different results with both options. So we always say that it depends on your business and your industry, but you need to test it. I'll use myself as an example. We used to send quicker, shorter, you know, to the point, bullet pointed, highlighted emails. It's not that we didn't get engagement, but we actually got less engagement and more unsubscribes. We took a little break. Yeah. We looked around and we said, we're going to do a test. We're going to send a longer email that is 99% value. Yeah. Like it is just these tips, tiny little tips, right?
I love your emails.
And it's a system reboot, right? And so we thought, let's put it out on a random day. So we started sending it out on Sunday mornings at like 8 or 9 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Which, why? Right? Like, that's not a normal time that people send their e-blast, but we're like, but no one's sending at 7 a.m. or, 7, 8 a.m. on a Sunday. Let's go ahead and send it. So we did it. And we had, out of like over 6,000 people on my list, we had like 20 something unsubscribes, which is insanely low. And then I got 5 or 6 people that directly replied back to the email and just said, this is amazing. Great content, perfect timing. And I was like,
test.
Right. I was like, okay. So then we're like, well, what if we did it next Sunday and we did it every Sunday? Is once a week too much? Because we used to do it once a month.
Okay.
We started once a week and all of the analytics held. 40+% open rate. We were getting 700-800 clicks on single links. We were like, what is this? And I walk into events now and I have people go, love your email blast.
Yeah, well, yes.
That thing is...
I don't read a lot of emails, but I do read yours.
But it's 7 scrolls long.
Yes.
I mean, you've seen it. It's like you got to scroll and scroll. But all of it is value. We try to make sure that the headers and the formatting allow your eye to glance down to the different sections and determine if you want to read that section, right? But for the most part, that was the test. We had to figure out, what does our audience want? And so never would I have sat down and just gone, what we need to do is write a novel every Sunday and send that out. Of course, we do it during the week and we schedule, right? But you have to test it for yourself. The point is, and we'll talk about this at the Flourish event, it's consistency. Yeah. So when we're talking about social, when we're talking about email, blogging, updating your website, your podcast, whatever the content is for marketing, the biggest tip I can give you is be consistent. don't get excited about social and be like, I'm going to post 4 or 5 times a week from now on. You go from
not doable. Yeah.
It's not. And you do it for the first week, then you do it half the next week, and then you don't do it for 4 weeks because you're exhausted and burnt out and you get busy. It would be better for you to post 1 or 2 times a week forever than it would be for you to go really hard for a moment and then abandon the process for weeks. Right. So it's kind of, I use this metaphor, and I'm a mentor with SCORE here in Nashville. And I just shared this with one of my, with one of my clients. And she said it was a very funny but memorable metaphor. Content is like having a monster in your basement. And in order to keep Google happy, in order to keep all the algorithms happy, you have to feed the monster content, right? You're feeding the monster. If you take a giant bucket of content and you put it down there in the basement, right? And then you lock the door and you don't come back for a month and a half. Is the monster happy with you?
No,
because he ate
it and then
he ate all the content in the first moment and then he starved for a month and a half. But if you took that same bucket of content and you took a little handful and you fed him once a day or once every couple of days for that month and a half, now you have a happy monster who's really excited to see you every time you open the door, right?
It's so smart.
The same amount of content, but you're slow feeding it. When you batch it, don't take it all and publish it all the next day. Right. You do a photo shoot. You don't publish 100 photos the next day.
It's so tempting, right?
Right? Like, it's tempting.
Yes.
Look at how cute I am. Of course you look great, right? But like, no, you slow batch it and you drip it. And that's where a lot of business owners get overwhelmed with marketing, is they think they have to do everything all at once all the time. No, you need to pick something that's sustainable.
Gotcha. Well, still on the same topic of social media, I feel like there's a lot of, buzz always in amongst parents and women that are talking about how social media can be so bad for mental health. And I'm not disputing that in any sort of way. However, I do feel like social media is such a powerful tool for a business owner to use.
Yeah.
Like, in what time have we ever had a free opportunity to reach, people everywhere, people that you may not know? And so I do feel really strongly about that. But talk to me about how you coach your clients to not get maybe too, and I'm just projecting.
Yeah, you're
you
good.
may not do this, but, not getting too excited versus too low about one post versus the other.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be like, oh, this one did so well, and then no one saw this. And yes, you want to learn from them, but to not like hang on every little
thing,
like and comment kind of thing.
It really is a mindset shift. When we are doing analytics review with our clients, we're reviewing website analytics, email statistics, like, all of the data on an email sent. We're reviewing everything monthly except social media.
Okay. How often do you look at that?
Once a quarter.
Oh, okay.
So the reason is because the frequency of the posts, the variable nature of social media, right? We don't want our clients to be like that, right? Like just grasping on to every like and every comment.
Who liked it?
Who liked it and who didn't and what because the algorithm changes constantly, right? Depending on when you posted and what's going on with other people's day, right? Like today, I have this, I have a panel after, I have a TV show after, and I have 3 calls after that. Girl, I'm not looking at social media today, right? So like somebody like you may have posted an amazing post that I'm not going to get to until tomorrow or Friday, just because of the anomaly of my personal day, right? So setting that expectation of we want to learn from the data and we want to see the things that are getting the most engagement or the most likes or shares and create more content like that. Right. But we're not going to lose our minds when something didn't. I mean, I post on social media every day. We're a marketing agency, so our social is a portfolio of our work. We need to be able to show our clients what we're capable of. But at the same time, if I looked at it every day, I have a business to run. Like I can't be concerned that this one only got 250 views, but that one got 1,500 views. Okay, well then, we don't know, but maybe it was the topic or maybe it was the timing, but let's do more like this one that had the 1,500 and power on. I think the important part comes when you're talking about mindset here. When I ask people where the majority of their business comes from, the number one answer, probably 70, 80% of my respondents in all the keynotes that I do, I ask this, is word of mouth and referrals.
Yeah.
Okay. So what that means is that there really is not this magic wand that social media waves that goes, oh, here is this wave of new clients that have never heard of you
something,
before.
They're all going to work with you.
Right. And so for me, when I'm looking at retainers are thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. No one has ever seen an Instagram post that I've posted, never met or heard of me before, and sent me a DM to say, this was such an amazing post. Where do I sign a multi-$1,000 contract? Never has this happened in 10 years, right? It would be. But what we try to do is explain to clients, you are going to earn more business with things like organic search engine, right? Like optimization with even digital ads, or honestly, a networking plan that has a solid follow-up strategy into email marketing. Mm-hmm. I use social media as part of my network marketing. Right. When I go to an event, I try to gather as much contact information as possible. And then I log into LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, my 3 main channels. And I find those people on all the channels I can, and I follow them because it's so much easier to hit follow back than it is. They're never going to search Anna-Vija. No one is searching for Anna-Vija because no one knows how to spell it, right?
They're going to try.
They're going to try, right? And then I just changed my last name and got married, right? So it's like, even if they try to find me, right, it's so much faster and easier for them to hit follow back or to accept my connection link. That's why I have 11, 12,000 followers and connections on LinkedIn because it's like every time I meet someone, I go find them. And then I'm batching my effort because it doesn't matter if one post got a lower engagement and one post got a higher engagement. Hopefully the algorithm is showing all of that to everybody all the time. Right.
And what is it? Someone needs to see something 10 to 12 times before they buy. And I've always felt like social media is a great way, if nothing else, to slow drip, show your value, show what you do well.
It used to be the rule of 7, but then digital,
like 12,
it's easily 12. Plus. And they've even argued between digital, like passive digital ads that our brain comprehends in the sidebars in the middle of our articles, that it's closer to 20 plus at this point. But yes, it's a lot. But that's the thing, right? That is top of mind awareness, right? I'd rather have someone's email address than have them following me on social media.
True.
Because
you're going to send them an amazing email on Sunday morning.
Right? And not only that, but also what happens if somebody hacks my social or someone reports me and I lose that? I don't own that audience, right? Instagram does or LinkedIn does. And so having the email allows me to know that I've got that direct connection to them and I can have whatever length and style and format of messaging that I want. It doesn't have to just be a quick, pithy 30-second post.
Well, so we've talked about batching. So batching content and sending consistent emails. You're very system oriented and I love that. So is there a system that you've put into place in your own agency that has streamlined processes for you?
Yeah. It is not
like teamwork and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's not even a single system, Lucy. It's a mindset of learning. So we have 3 core company principles. So the first one is happiness. It is really important to me that my team especially is happy, that they enjoy the work, that they enjoy the company, because if not, like, what are we doing here, right? Like nobody's going to be, I'm not going to.
One life.
Well, not only that, but also like, if you're not happy, you're not doing your best work, so I'm not happy. That doesn't really work. But our second core company principle is we are a teaching company. Our third, because it's not going to go, is don't get offended, get better. But they kind of tie together. The idea is if somebody is doing the work and they see a way for it to be better, they should say something. And we all give each other the grace that they're not doing it with malice. They're not doing it to point out that somebody else did it wrong and they can do it right. No one's going to get offended. We're going to go, that's a really interesting idea. Let's explore it together, right? But the teaching company is something that you asked me earlier in the interview about how did I scale? And I mentioned in those first 2 years, right? I was hiring these subcontractors for selective skills. If I sell you a social media package and I tell you all about the deliverables and what you're going to get, and then I take that and you sign the contract and I say, it's so great to work with you. Here is my team. They do not get to just make up whatever they want.
Right.
Because I sold you a deliverable. You have an expectation. I defined a time frame, right? Like you are like, this is what I'm expecting to get for my social media package. What that meant was I had to make sure that there were training systems in place, that I was teaching the rest of my team members the standards, the expectations, templates, checklists, training videos, best practices guides. And so it just meant that instead of me being the one to do everything and going, well, I'm the only one who can do it. Right?
Gosh, that is such a problem.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm the only one who knows the client they want to work with me. I'm the only one who can get it done fast enough. I'm the only one who has the logins. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
That's a nightmare, right? Get a password management system.
I need to help.
But the point being, right, is that like there was a mandatory hurdle that came to me in the first year or two as I was hiring people and going, I have to teach them what to do. And so then what happened was these systems naturally came where I was recording videos of myself screen sharing. Use Loom, by the way. It's free.
Yeah.
Love it. But I was just narrating. Here's what I do. Here's why I do it. Here's a little thing that might trip you up. Be careful of that.
Watch this button, yeah.
Here, push this button. Next, you're going to do that, right? Make sure this client likes this thing to be done this way or said that way. Make sure blah, blah, blah. It's sharing a knowledge base. It's creating training videos and materials that anybody in your team can access. And so there's not a single system. It's a whole company. Yeah. It is a company system where everybody has the mindset of teaching. If we are, as an organization, if we are going to do this more than once, you have to make a template. You have to make a training video.
So we've talked about Slack before. I use Slack as a communication tool, and
we do not. But yes, respect.
You do not use.
No.
What did you say?
We use Asana.
Asana. Okay.
Yeah,
Asana.
yeah.
Okay. I use Asana too.
Yes. Yeah.
So is that a place where you keep your training videos?
Everything.
Okay.
So Loom is where the hosting the videos are. So everybody has access to our company Loom. They can log in at any time, record an explainer video, a training video. We actually have my senior operations director. One of his jobs is to keep everything clean and organized. So he'll go back and like label things and put them in folders according to the topic, and so we can find it. But then we put the links in the in Asana. So when you open up a task in Asana, it will tell you the estimated time it should take you to do that task.
Love it.
It should give you the link to the training video, links to any additional resources like templates or checklists or best practices guide. And then we usually transcribe that into subtasks. So if you're not in a position to watch the video, there is a literal checklist on how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. This has taken 10 years to create, right? So this isn't an overnight.
Right.
It is an everyday mindset of add an extra 3 or 4 minutes to what you're doing now, batching, right? To articulate it and document it instead of being like, I'm the only one, and then getting to the point. Right.
Yeah. So the processes, that helps keep you all more streamlined and able to function and communicate with each other well. And
it also means, and it also means that I'm not the only one teaching, right? So like once I've gotten it out of my head and into a system, there's no reason for me to have a training call for an hour with every new person we hire.
Right.
Go watch the video and let me know if you have questions. Oh, by the way, don't let me know if you have questions. Let this person know if you have questions because I'm recording a podcast this morning. Right. But they have all the answers because we've documented everything. Yeah. So that's how you scale is by creating those SOPs.
Gosh, yeah. So good. So
Thank you.
Well, so Asana is great. We use Asana for a few of us on our team, and then we also use Slack.
Yeah.
So there's lots of good and about each.
Yeah. Well, the only reason we don't use Slack is because we were so ingrained in Asana and using the comments on individual tasks.
Yes.
By the time Slack really became popular and a tool that, was something we considered, it was like, that's one more place to put communication that might get lost. So for us, it was like, you know what? Our team is 7, 8, 10 people. We can all make it work with Asana. And so it's just a personal preference of like, if it's in Asana, it's actionable. If it's in Slack, it might get buried. And so for us, it was just a choice to say, we've already got a system that works for us. But a lot of people successfully use Slack.
So on the connection front,
yes,
we've already talked about it a little bit, but after you meet a new person, you're following them on their social channels.
Yes.
What kind of process do you have for follow-up? Do you have a spreadsheet?
Girl, do I have a spreadsheet?
program?
Did you just ask me if I have a spreadsheet?
I figured
I have
probably did.
several spreadsheets. So for networking, we actually have one. And what we do is I actually just did an entire workshop for Network in Action, went around to all of the local groups and taught this in June. So it's really funny. This is very timely. So yeah, I try to get as much contact information from everybody I can. I'm going to have real conversations in the room.
Right.
But even if I can't and I don't have time, I'm going to try to get a card or, a name and a company name. If they're going around in round robin introductions, I'm going to be writing down names and companies. So then what we do is I have a virtual assistant, a virtual project manager who helps me with this. That's one of the services we offer is virtual project management because it works so well for us. We're like, oh, we could do this for other people. She will take everything and transcribe it into a spreadsheet. Every event I go to is a new tab. So one of the beautiful parts about that, so many tabs. One of the beautiful parts about that though, is that, your mind starts to muddle those things. So if I'm like, where did I meet that person? I can go in that spreadsheet and search for that name and it goes, you met them at the cable event in, September of 2024. And I'm like, oh, right, that's really great. We do put in a lot of details. So we do try to connect with them on LinkedIn first with a custom message.
Love it.
Then we try to, Facebook and Instagram are my other channels. So we try to find them there and just connect on all the socials. Once we get as much contact information for them as we can, then we will upload that spreadsheet we'll import it into HubSpot, which is our CRM.
Okay.
So then that will be translated over into our email list, right? So they're going to be put on our email list. Some people will ask, well, can you even do that if they didn't agree? The people who don't want it unsubscribe so quickly. Absolutely. And in 10 years, I've had less than a dozen people get upset about it. And every time I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry. No worries. I'll unsubscribe you. And that's the end of it.
Love it.
Right? So you want to be careful that you're watching your own industry's regulations around email, right? But for the most part, general networking and a company like marketing.
They're excited to hear from you, I'm sure.
And
they meet you in person.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sending them a giant sales email.
Right.
I'm sending them a giant value-based email with a lot of resources and tips. So it's your approach. But yeah, that's kind of the process through.
Okay.
And then what we do is we identify of those people I'm meeting literally in real time. Once a week when I have my call with my virtual project manager, she goes through the list and says, here are the people you met this past week. Who do you want to have a follow-up meeting or call with? Who needs to be on your top 20% follow-up list, which is where once a quarter I look through it and go, these are people that I have a little bit more connectivity with or referral opportunities for, right? And then we just kind of do a little bit more of a one-off or like a BCC, like a bulk, hey, how you been? But yeah, the continuation is really, again, scaling. If I followed you on social and you followed me back and now you're on my email list, I don't have to do a lot of extra work.
Right.
Because you're already, I'm staying top of mind with you because I'm already producing that content.
Absolutely. So last question.
Yes.
So I named this podcast Beyond the Handshake for a reason.
Which I love.
You do it so well, but it's that relationship building past that handshake.
Yes.
Past passing the business card.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you, what does Beyond the Handshake mean to you and how do you implement that with relationship business?
I saw this question on the prep list and I loved it because I was like, oh, there's like 15 things. How long is this podcast? The two that I settled on were making sure that you are providing value to your network first. And it is very counterintuitive when you're starting a business because you are like, I need to sell, right? I need to sell. And even Drew Tinnen, our lovely friend Drew Tinnen, just did a workshop with Brain Trust on referrals, right? And the importance of referrals and how the relationship and the giving of value is what really earns you the long-term business. And that's hard when you're first starting out, right? Because you want to run around and hand out as many cards as possible. I need business. But beyond the handshake, as I am learning a little bit about people, I want to find out not only what they're doing, but who their target audience is. And then I'm going to do two things. I'm going to be very thoughtful about who I know in my network that they need to meet. And my goal is to make at least one introduction that is strategic, right? So not, oh, here's just some other random person I met. But if you are looking to meet this type of person, either from a referral standpoint or from a sales standpoint, here is somebody you need to know. Right? A lot of times I'll meet people and go, I don't have any engagement with the group or the audience that you need to touch base with, but I know a couple people who do.
Yeah.
Let me introduce you to them.
So great. You're being a connector.
Connector, right? So the first thing is
I love that.
try to make that the goal, right? One person that you can introduce them to. The other thing is, girl, I don't have time for coffee meetings.
All the time. I know.
I can't, it's like an hour of the meeting plus a 30-minute commute both ways. That's 2 hours of my day to maybe develop some synergy with someone that I'm just meeting. Instead, what I do is a 15-minute phone call. Let's do, in my verbiage, if I get that invitation, I'd love to do a quick intro call and determine next steps from there.
So good.
I'm not telling you I won't have coffee with you. I'm saying, let's figure out what this looks like before we make a commitment to drive across town in traffic, right?
That.
Then when I'm on the call, if there is a lot of opportunity and I want to have a follow-up meeting individually, great. Most of the time, though, there's not that urgent need for a longer meeting. And what I'm going to do is invite them to a group or an event that I'm already going to.
Love it.
So the great part about that is Beyond the Handshake, it's not just me you're getting to meet. I am going to bring you to a room full of people that are your target audience or referral partners. And I'm going to make you look good because I'm already part of that group. I'm going to introduce you around. I can make strategic connections. That is so much more value than having an hour-long coffee with someone, and it saved me 2 hours of time, right? So now when I meet with someone, I go, what is the introduction I can make? And are there any groups or organizations or events coming up that I can invite them to be my guest at? And we just have templates for those introductions because I have the same 3 or 4 groups I go to. Yeah. So if I go, oh, I'd love to invite Lucy to this group, I just ask my virtual project manager to send that template over to that person and get them set up on the calendar invite.
That is so smart.
Thank you.
I love that you are a natural connector. I feel like I am as well. And I love surrounding myself with people like that. Because, I mean, what an amazing thing to be able to introduce someone to someone or a group that would be a positive impact for them. So,
Absolutely.
So
And they remember you favorably too, because if any of those relationships turn out positively for them, they always have that little reminder in their head that they met them through you. Yeah. And so then when something comes up and they go, oh, I know someone who needs marketing or virtual project management help, it's like, oh, I should call Anna-Vija, right? It's that top of mind.
Well, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you.
I thought we could have talked for another hour.
That flew by.
Yes, it really did. Well, thank you for being on Beyond the Handshake.
Of course.
And we'll excited to catch up with you soon.